much to learn about in every land. The more I learn, the more I understand. We are all different, and we are one.
Hello, this is Nancy Heins-Glaser, and I'm really happy tonight to be doing a special presentation, not my traditional Meet the Artist show, but a wonderful show to honor a wonderful organization and something exciting that goes on every year and has for 40 years. These are just a few of the programs. I'm here tonight with Dr. Edwina Verner, Dr. Phylis Peterman, and of course Dorothy Pownes. And they're here to talk to us about the South Orange Civic Organization, how it got started and how it's still around after 40 years. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Our pleasure.
I'm very excited. I think one of the things that we'll be showing at some point is the meaning of beloved community. Certainly everyone sees Martin Luther King right there in the painting. And you guys have been doing this work for 40 years, right? Is that right, Dot? You're one of the original founding members?
Yes. Actually, the South Orange Civic Association came out of the fair housing. And in the 60s, we saw that some people saw the need to have organized to make the village more diverse, and therefore we had a meeting at the Bailey's house, and a man from Nutley came over. And he said that they had a fair housing group in Nutley, and that he advised us how to go about organizing one in South Orange. So Reverend Thomas was really the one who had asked the man to come over.
From the First Baptist Church, and you were part of that, right? You were part of the first meeting?
I have been a member of the First Baptist Church since 1944. So anyway, the organization, the fair housing was started that way, and after many people that weren't at that meeting, it was only about 10 people, and then all over the village, when they heard about that we were going to start a fair housing, people start calling up all different parts of the community, black and white, and they came in, and we worked very hard. We did testing. That means that one group would go, black group would go in and
for applying for housing, or
applying for a house or rental, and then if they were if the black group said that they were no one
room
available,
at the end,
then that was some of the things we did. But however, the fair housing worked for many years and did many things with many people all over the community. But after we felt that things had more or less accomplished what we wanted it to accomplish, that's how the South Orange Civic came about.
Okay.
Because many of the people, they didn't stop doing community work, they went beyond that,
exactly.
In different groups. And one particular thing they did was they went into Newark, like on Clinton Avenue. They started a clinic for the young people, for the children in Newark.
And that's how. So really, that's what it started out as one thing, and expanded into something else, and it's still here after 40 years, right?
That's right.
It's amazing. And you're still here after 40 years, and we
God.
love that.
Thank God for that.
Yes. And actually, we had an opportunity to decide who would be great to come on, because everybody's so wonderful that's been associated. that I've come to know. And everybody, to the person, said you had to come on. So, and Dr. Verner, you're homegrown. You were
Yes.
born and raised South Orange, is
Well,
that correct?
actually, my family's originally from the South. And my mom's from Mississippi. I was born in Mississippi, and my dad in Georgia. And we moved up here from the South when I was quite young, maybe about 5 or 6 years old. We initially moved to East Orange and had a large family, have a large family still. I have 6 siblings. There were 7 of us. We lived in a house in East Orange that was about a 2 to 3 bedroom house. I mean, I never had my own bedroom. I didn't even know kids had their own bedrooms. And I guess it was in the 60s that obviously my dad was looking for a larger house for his continually growing family. So it was then in the mid-60s, early mid-60s, that we moved to South Orange. And I believe what happened is we moved to South Orange at a wonderful time because we had the Fair Housing Organization that was already in progress. And obviously my dad realized that this is, you know, we didn't get this love. We have a lovely house now, still have, in South Orange, a lovely large house where we all had our own bedrooms. And I'm sure my dad realized this isn't something that just happened because we are just wonderful people. This happened because there were people in the community who were activists before we got here that made such a thing possible. And it's my feeling that that's how he got involved with the South Orange Civic Association, we called it at that time, and then continued over the next 40 years until the time of his death, actually, to be active in the South Orange Civic Association.
And so you grew up with it, basically.
Absolutely.
It was in the house.
Absolutely.
It was in the house.
Absolutely.
Right?
They're like my extended family.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have wonderful memories of growing up with those big meetings, with everyone meeting at the house and other houses, and the wonderful food that we had, you know, at the end of the meeting. So I really grew up very much, you know, like a big family.
Wonderful. And that brings me to you, Dr. Peterman, and your current involvement. You're currently the president, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Edwina Verner, the current Dr. Verner's father was the longtime president, and really believed that the civic organization, the focus was, you know, encouraging civic participation, creating an appreciation for the cultural diversity that people of color brought. The organization over the years, Dottie mentioned the clinic in Newark, which I did not know about, but there were health fairs around the city and the town, the county. There were Black History programs, long-time scholarship programs, and the Martin Luther King program, which we are celebrating the 40th anniversary this year, as I think the oldest, most continuous Martin Luther King program in our 2 towns, and probably in the county,
In the
I would
region,
say.
I think.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. So over the years, we have had wonderful speakers. We have had, you know, wonderful groups come in and participate. And you mentioned the Beloved Community Awards. That's something that we give every year. And I don't know if you wanted to follow up on that now.
I absolutely do
Right.
want to. And were you part of the first voting block to select
Oh,
somebody?
yes.
I do want to talk a little bit about that.
If you speak of what we did in the community, I was first Black person to work on the election board, and that was in 1945, I guess.
And you just left.
And
And
I
they're sad
just-
you left. They can't get over it.
And I
You know,
just
they're
got
upset.
off. I decided I was not going to work anymore after this last election.
Were you part of the First Beloved Community Award? Did you help decide that was a great thing to do?
Well,
or-
actually, the beloved community,
Mhm.
Didn't start till
that's
later.
something that's decided by the whole group.
Right, and I just
Uh-huh.
wanted to know if you were
But
one that was around when the
what
first
you
one
were
was.
probably referring to is I'm the president of the Church Women United
Right.
of the South Mountain Unit, which
It's
takes
an-
in
Right.
South Orange, Maplewood, Millburn, Short Hills.
Well, and that's where it all started, really, is at least at that point anyway. everyone was still very rooted to their church, their synagogue,
Right.
and they still are, even though it's probably a little different now. But it was very much foot traffic. It was you knew everyone in the neighborhood. When you moved to the neighborhood, whatever church was there, maybe that's why you moved to the neighborhood. And certainly South Orange is like that.
But one thing I would like to say, and that's when we in the 60s, a lot of people really they forfeited a great deal by joining with the fair housing, because some of the larger churches in South Orange, they asked, what we did in our in the South Orange Civic Association was to ask the members, not in the South Orange Civic, but in the fair housing, to ask each person in each church to take it to their deacon board or whatever, and ask the members to sign a petition saying that they were in favor of fair housing.
So they gave. So it was a time, wasn't
and
it?
some of the churches almost put that member out of the church. So there were. I'm saying that to say there were a lot of very brave people. It wasn't as easy as it sounds, because there was still a great deal of prejudice, and these people who stuck their neck out and went back to their churches and asked them to sign petitions, many of them were rebuffed. They did not. They wouldn't. The church wouldn't sign it.
And there are still those people floating around, though, that I know, the Hoffners, who were
yes.
early supporters, and they're still out there doing
Absolutely,
civic
yes.
activism.
Yeah,
and-
Dorothy and
Ed.
they were always very brave.
Yeah.
Right.
Then there were the Hildebrands
Right.
and the Winans, and
And many people
Right.
still with us.
Yeah.
So
Right, and
that's really
speaking of,
yeah.
the Hoffners, they are active. They come to the program, the Martin Luther King program, every year. And actually, Dorothea is a past recipient of the Beloved Community Award, and basically the Beloved Community Award, which I don't think was part of the very first programming that came later, although I saw the list and there are about, I guess, 50 people on there. So each year, 2, maybe 3 people are recognized. And the focus is that, Dr. King saw the Beloved Community as a group that had genuine interpersonal, intergroup relations, and brotherhood and sisterhood transcended race, ethnicity, and it was supposed to be a community that came together, that worked for the benefit of each other. So each year we try and select, names are submitted, and we kind of debate. And in South Orange, Maplewood, we were very fortunate to have many people who we think fit that criteria.
Yeah.
So over the years we have honored groups, individuals, political people, and you are very modest, but you certainly were a recipient 2 or 3 years ago, and people of great caliber.
Thank you for
Yes.
saying that. I guess it's time to go for a break, really. You've embarrassed me now. We weren't supposed to talk about it, but don't change that dial, please, because you're going to hear more from these fabulous people. Thanks for joining us, and come back.
And we are one. We are relatives in one family. We are rainbows of color. We are waves in the sea. It's the same stars we wish on. It's the same.
Is your home in foreclosure? During the current financial crisis, as many as 60,000 New Jersey homeowners will go through foreclosure. If you need help, now's time to get connected to the new statewide foreclosure mediation program. Housing counselors and mortgage mediators are available to help work out a payment you can afford with your lender.
I met with a housing counselor and they helped me save my home. They can help you too.
Welcome back. This is Nancy Heins-Glaser with a special presentation tonight talking about the South Orange Civic Organization's 40th anniversary Martin Luther King Celebration and Beloved Community Awards.
Yes.
And I'm here with Dr. Verner, Dr. Peterman, and Dot. And we're friends. And
Right.
when we went out to break, you acknowledged that I did receive the award, and I will tell you that wasn't going to be part of the program. But it did change me.
Right.
It affected me because I was acknowledged, I felt, quite humbly for something that everybody else has been doing in the whole world
Right.
forever, and that it's up to each of us to step up to the plate.
Absolutely.
So, and each of you in the room have certainly done that for many years and still. And really, probably people are wondering who this pretty lady is. Okay, and you moved to South Orange and you had a big family and you lived near the artist Tony Smith. This
That's
I
right.
know.
Right,
Yeah, I
right.
know that you were the only African American in your
That's
neighborhood.
right.
Your sister
That's
was the only African American to go to Marshall School.
That's
at the
right.
time.
We were the first at the time. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
but you felt a beloved community
Absolutely.
anyway, and I think that's
Absolutely.
important too.
I think that, for that moment in time, we were actually living a dream. As a child, you take a lot of things for granted. We lived in a lovely house. We lived on a street as the only African American family, and as I said, in retrospect, we realized that people worked so that we could live there. We had wonderful neighbors. At that time, people had very large families. Our next door neighbors, the Phylis, I think had 9 kids in their family. The Strausses had about 4 or 5 children in their family. And we were very ethnically diverse. We had, Irish Catholic. We had Jewish families. We had all different kinds of people. And as kids, we just all played together. We didn't think anything of it. We played in each other's houses. There were no play dates like there are now. You just went in and out of each other's houses. You ate lunch, wherever someone was fixing lunch. You played in the backyard. You slept over people's houses. As you mentioned, we lived down the street from Tony Smith, who we didn't know was a famous artist. We know that there were these big blocky things in the backyard. We didn't know what they were. We just played around them and didn't find out till many, many years later that he's a famous artist, and this was actually his sculpture. We went during holidays. We would go into other people's homes and have celebrations. We went into the Strausses' home. The Strausses were the Jewish family that lived down the street from us, and we learned about things like Hanukkah. We went into the Blacks' house, which is a family that had 11 or 12. Some of them still live around here. We went into the Smith's house, the artist's house, and we realized that they were different from us. Again, because you're a child, you accept things. Their house looked different. It was very sparse, and seeing Kiki Smith, who's now on her own a very famous artist, she mentioned how her dad never liked much furniture, and I said, oh yeah, that I noticed that as a child. But again, as a child, you just accept these things, and we just grew up without knowing that we were had our individual characteristics and cultures, but appreciating them and not seeing them as barriers. And it was only later that we realized that took some effort, some conscious effort on the part of our parents. Our parents made a decision that we would not see the differences between us and our playmates, and that they made a conscious decision that we would all play together, that we would go in and out of each other's homes. And that's something that I realize now, as I said, that was brave on their part. That we would go into their homes, and they would pick us up. Mr. Feely, who lived next door to us, would pick the kids up and take everybody out, for ice cream. And there would be maybe 1 or 2 black kids in a car full of other children who were white children, and we never thought anything of it.
It was only about the ice cream.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that's because Dot was telling us before, people stood out,
Exactly.
did the hard work,
Right.
paved the way. Then your dad came along, took it up another notch, if I recall. Isn't that what you told me? He got everybody organized, structured, took it up another notch, and each stood on each other's shoulders, which I know is often said,
Right.
to bring us really kind of where we are today. But tell us what the name of this year's service is, Phyllis, because I think that's important as well.
Well, each year we try and have a theme, and if I recall, I think this year's program is called 40 Years Later. It's still a work in progress. And we're having a panel, it's two people doing presentations, Dr. Clement Price, who is a historian, well-known national historian, and a professor at Rutgers University, Newark, and Barbara Heisler Williams, who is a long-time activist, but her area of expertise and specialty is diversity, is housing, and she is the principal person in an organization called Integral Incorporated. And then we have Alfred Bundy, who's a South Orange resident and a well-known cable television personality. He's the moderator. This year, we're continuing the Beloved Community Awards, and Karen Weiland from the South Orange Maplewood School District is being honored, especially for her work with the Parenting Center. And then the second recipient is Reverend Sandy Wilson, who is the dynamic pastor of St. Andrew Church. So
St. Andrew's and Holy Communion. I have someone who will be upset if I
okay, St. Andrew and the Holy Communion.
He'll be very upset.
Yes, in South Orange. Thank you. And so both of these people are different, but unique, and certainly have made an impact on the community. So over the years, I think we've always been surprised and humbled how appreciative the recipients are and how emotional they get at the presentations. And what we've done for many years is we have someone who's close to them introduce them. And after the introductions, people can really understand why they have been chosen and the efforts that they have made and the organizations that they have been involved with. Last year, the recipient was Audrey Rowe, who's kind of Miss South Orange Maplewood, involved in many things, and the additional recipient was the Interfaith Holocaust Committee. So, it ranges from the South Orange Maplewood Adult School to the Recognizing Arts in the Park, to Bill Calabrese, to Ellen Davenport, Ellen Greenfield, Phyllis Calp. I'll get in trouble for
leaving
not
some
mentioning.
out. There's so many amazing people.
So many, but it really, there's a very diverse group we have recognized. Dottie shared with me that, and I know that over the years looking at the program, we had the Dr. King's children come to South Orange and be the highlighted speakers. We've had politicians, there's many people.
And
dare I ask what year that was? Do you remember what year? If you don't, that's okay. I certainly.
Yeah.
I don't want someone asking me a date, so I'll just move right on from that. But
I don't remember exactly.
You remember the feeling, though, right? Yeah.
I remember
Very
how
exciting.
exciting it
Yeah,
was.
absolutely.
Yes.
And I think there's so much that goes on in both of our communities that's amazing and wonderful. And if you really just try to catch up with it all, you're exhausted because there's so much that's constant. But what I really like about South Orange Civic Organization is saying it's still a work in progress, because first of all, each one of us is, till we're much older than you, Dot. We're still in a work in progress. And as a society we are, because we have to continue to learn and figure it out and hopefully not hurt anyone and hopefully not hurt ourselves. And why I like so much hearing what you had to say is that there's a definite direct connection to the work that went before your arrival here.
Absolutely.
And your dad was a doctor of quite a notable reputation, went on to become a breast specialist, and I think with the scholarships that you guys give out, I think you've had a ripple effect on many children. They've gone off to college. They remember receiving that scholarship from South Orange.
Right. I do want to say that we do a journal each year, and people take ads. They have names in there as boosters, and that money goes for scholarships to graduating seniors from Columbia High School. Some of the funds have gone to the King Center in Atlanta, and in more recent years, the Martin Luther King Commission of New Jersey. After Dr. Verner's, after his death, we have begun contributing to the Komen Foundation in his honor, in his honor and memory. So over the years, we've been excited about doing the things that we are doing. There are a core of us, we're three, but there are several other people who are also very busy in the community who devote time to the organization. Carol Berry Austin, Sandra Johnson, Mila Jayzee. Before she was Assemblywoman, Mila Jayzee was very active. A woman named Carol Bailey, who's a longtime member.
And
Ann Alexander, right?
Everybody says her name all the time.
Yes,
She's
yes,
everywhere.
right. A beloved community award winner, but also a beloved teacher in the community who kids remember from Marshall Street and still speak highly of. So we start planning in the summer, and each year we say, okay, we'll do it again this year because there's a commitment to continuing the legacy. Mm-hmm. And we get together and we're only going to meet for an hour, and then 2 hours have passed, and we say, okay, we got to get back to business. But there's an excitement, as Dottie said and Edwina said, about the planning and the process.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've always loved so much is really the Beloved Community Awards. Having grown up here and then been away for a while, and you really just recently moving back to South Orange, I'm just amazed at really the innovative kinds of ways that people are contributing to the community. And Phylis mentioned it's not just politicians, it's artists, it's students who receive Beloved Community Awards. Right. There are so many diverse members of the community that are really working, that without thinking about it, without realizing how much they're contributing to the community. And I think that's why they are so overcome when they, people say, look what you're doing. You're actually living what Martin Luther King talked about. And in ways that you don't even realize. And you mentioned the ripple effect. You have an effect on people that that you don't know about. So it's really a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
And I think that the organization should be commended for being so creative in thinking, of different people to
we should give the
contribute.
Beloved Community Award to the South Orange Civic Organization.
Well, they should.
Well,
They
we
should.
only have a minute left, and I don't like that very much.
I would like to say that Dr. Verner, he was absolutely so wonderful.
Yes.
And when he came and joined the organization, now he was also the president of the Black ministers in Essex County, and he was very active in St. James. But he put so much into our organization.
Right, that's true.
And he structured it, and he actually brought so much, I would say, star power.
Well, and you know what? We have like 30
Because
seconds, and
he brought all the knowledge and all the things that he had from the other organization.
and his ability
and came
to
into us.
Well, I think it's a good way to end our show.
That's right.
And I really want to thank you guys for coming on and talking about it, and hopefully everybody will know more, and we can go ahead and have a huge crowd this year.
Sunday, January 10th, 2010.
Sunday, January 10th, 2009, 3 p.m. South Orange Middle School. Did I say 2010? Oh, 9. Okay. Anyway, 2010, and then if you can't come this year, come next year, because it's really worth it. Singing, fun, and feeling really good about where you live, and I can't imagine anything better in my world. Thank you for joining us, and we really appreciate it.
And thank you for having us.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having us.
Good day.